my life, my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. And whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemy, my faith and trust I put all in thee. Believe you got the world in your hand. You bless me, Lord, I know I can stand. Show me the way, Lord. I will be faithful, for I am desolate and afflicted. Lord, show me the way.
I'm going to say to the people that are watching us live on the internet, good afternoon. And as always, I am glad to stand before you on the Lord's Sabbath day. You know, they moved my roster because they say some way the train, you know, we have a big train track back there, and some way it shifted the camera that's supposed to be automatic moving, in which we're going to get in and we're going to check all this stuff before we start the next time. But I'm going to live with it. I said, it's been one good morning. Brother come up here and showed me a letter today that a sister wrote a guy in prison saying that I have passed on, so this is not me here. I've gone on and I'm with the Lord. I wouldn't read the name of the brother that's taking my place because I didn't want to get mad at him. There's some weird stuff going on around here. But anyway, sisters and brothers, we're going to get right down to it. You know, this lesson is, I said, boy, I look at the crowd. I said, boy, somebody stayed at home because they must have read the marquee out there. And saw the title of this lesson, Tithe and Offering. You know, usually, you know, this is a lesson, sisters and brothers, that, like all lessons, I put together because of bad teaching, because you've been coming here. You know, we don't pass no plates. We have our collection thing. You know, you pay your tithes and your free will offering. It's the law, sisters and brothers. But we know usually this would be a year before I give this lesson. But this thing's going around now that, you know, the Levites are dead, so you don't pay no tithes to them. You understand? And then going around, you know, you ain't supposed to use money. You're supposed to pay tithes and cattle and corn and wine. I look at all these lights and all these bricks. I wonder what would have happened if I'd gone to the masonry company and said, look here, if you can give me the bricks, I'll give you 2 sheep, a cow, and a bushel of corn. I wonder how much they would adhere to me. You understand? Or either the chair you sit in, I could look here, send me some chairs, I would send you a flock of chickens.
Don't think it'll work.
And 3 bullocks. And wash it down with some freshly treated grape juice. In other words, I'm just telling you how foolish people are. Tithe, sisters and brothers, is a part of the law. I used to be against tithes, not because it wasn't a part of the law. It's because I saw that a lot of ministers misuse the Lord's money. But then I come to the conclusion as I got more and more understanding, they misuse also the Lord's word. In fact, they misuse the name of the Lord. But I had to be talked into collecting tithe. Sister, she's dead now, Sister Applewhite, Alice Applewhite, the one that told me when I was going to build a thing for about 2,000 people. She said, Brother Boy, think big. Build a big church. That's why you got this. And then Brother Azari, I know he don't remember, but when we were struggling for money, he said, you can have all the money you need. I said, how did that start? Collecting tithes. They won't do that. But then the Lord showed me, if you don't get tithes, you don't do nothing. You understand? Especially in our case. Israel God, as big as we are, all of the ministers, we have the local ministers and also the traveling ministers, including me. Nobody gets paid. If you say you love the Lord and you believe in you're going to get salvation, work for it. Because all the money that the Israel God go toward taking care of the Lord's business. You see vans out there. We got brothers out of town. We probably have about 8 or 10 brothers out of town. If they ain't in van, then they flying in an aircraft. Right. Some can't come back. We pay hotel bill. We pay gas. We pay utilities. We pay utilities and rent and lease for 23 camps. Because we are taking care of the Lord's business. And right now, I told 2 people last week that I'm really pressed because we have Bible classes that have grown out in other states, and we need money to expand Dallas. We need money to expand and build for Houston. We need money to build for Atlanta. They sucking up all the money. I hate to mention that. Down there in Orlando, Florida. You understand? Next weekend, I'm sending some brothers out to try and look at a place in St. Louis. I told them, go down there and put $100,000 on the table, and let's see if we can get this place. Then I got Baltimore, Maryland pushing me. You understand what I'm saying? I can't name them all. But we don't have room to use the money for the Lord's business, but for his business. We are in the gospel business. You understand what I'm saying? All the feasts that we're going to have that's going to come up, we pay for that. We pay all the meats. Some places, the halls are not big enough. We have to rent all the halls. We have a budget that would rupture the average city government, sisters and brothers. So in order for us to maintain this, you have to pay your tithes and your offering. You don't pay your tithes, lights go off here. We made a small loan, but the most of this we build out our pocket. But that small loan costs us $32,700 a month. I got to look to y'all for that. I don't have it. So, sisters and brothers, we're going to go through this lesson, but I just wanted to put that on your mind. Most of the people running around saying you don't have to pay tithes, you know where they holding service at? In their mama's basement. Because you can't go out and rent a place, because ain't nobody going to rent you no place for a bushel of corn. If you got the place, you can't pay the heat bill, because ain't nobody going to give you going to let you use no gas. It's in a dump. I just wanted to clear the air of foolishness. Now we're going to get out of this lesson, sister and brother. This is the law. We're going to start this in Malachi, the 3rd chapter. This is the only book that all other preachers know. You know, we New Testament Christians, however, there is one in the Old Testament that we all have to deal with. Because, sisters and brothers, you know, this is what I say. It's one thing with the Israeli God. We're about the Word of God. We're going to teach the Word of God, and we don't care who like it or don't like it. All we want to do is please God. Because he is the one, sisters and brothers. Anybody else, we don't even bother with. We're going to please God. Malachi, the 3rd chapter, and we're going to start reading at verse 6. Malachi 3 and verse 6. Okay, go ahead.
For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
I mean, that's a big statement there. Because if the Lord changed, he would have cut us off a minute after we got out of Egypt.
That's right.
He said, I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore you sons of Jacob are not consumed. Because we have been a very, very naughty people. I tell people all the time, nobody else has ever been a problem. Israel is the problem. Israel has always been the problem. That ain't nothing changed. Like the name of the Lord, Israel is the one kicking against Jesus. Ain't nobody else kicking against Jesus.
Right.
But Israel is the one that talked power into killing Jesus. And Israel is the one that chased the apostles down and stoned them. And Jesus said, Israel killed the prophets.
That's right.
So ain't nothing different. Now Israel's trying to kill the gospel. Don't pay no tithes. He said, look at here. He said, I'm the Lord. I change not. Therefore I haven't destroyed all of you people. Go ahead and read.
Even from the days of your fathers ye are gone away from mine ordinance, and have not kept them.
Go ahead.
Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts.
Look, he said, from the day that he brought you out of Egypt, you have turned again. He said, return to me, and I'll turn to you. Go ahead and read.
But ye said, when shall we return? Will a man rob God?
He said, now you're going to ask him, Lord, how can we return? God asked the question, will a man rob God? What have you done? Go ahead and read.
Yeah, ye have robbed me.
You have robbed me.
But ye say, when have we robbed thee?
Well, how is it we done robbed you, Lord? You know, we're in the book every day in my mother's basement. We're out on every corner talking the book and talking to people. He said, why haven't you robbed me? Go ahead and read.
In tithes and offerings.
In tithes and offerings. He said, that's why you have robbed me yet. You give me a bunch of conversation. But when it's come down to do what's necessary to get my gospel out, you don't want to do that. So you have robbed me in tithes and offerings. Go ahead and read.
Ye are cursed with the curse. For ye have robbed me, even this whole nation.
Go ahead.
Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house.
Go ahead.
Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts. If I would not open you the windows of heaven,
go ahead,
and pour you out a blessing, that there should not be room enough to receive it.
He said, look, you want to stop robbing me? Bring me tithes into my storehouse so I can get my business taken care of, sisters and brothers. Because the Lord has put this in our hand. We're going to show you he don't need us, but he said, do this. And when you don't pay that, you are robbing God, because everything you have, God gave it to you.
That's right, brother. That's right.
He said, all I want you to do is give me a percentage of it. And we're going to see that. Now let's go into Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. Because I'm not going to lie, this person gets on the phone and they really got to me. Because I said, what is wrong with these people? You got a lot of things that need to be done, but you can't do nothing free. Well, the Lord will provide, by your hand. And we're going to show you that. Proverbs chapter 3. And we're going to start at verse 1. Proverbs 3 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandment.
Now, he said, don't forget my law. And I want you to make sure that your mind keep my commandment, because if you keep them in your mind, you're going to practice them. Go ahead and read.
For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee.
Skip down to verse 9 and go ahead.
Honor the Lord with thy substance.
Honor the Lord with thy substance. Go ahead and read.
And with the first fruits of all thine increase.
How absolute is all, sister and brother?
Absolutely.
Whatever you get, the Lord said, I want 1/10 of it, or 10%. Honor the Lord with your substance and with all your increase. Then when I put this lesson together, I didn't want to teach it when I first did it, because I said, I don't want to get them Sunday ministers a weapon to beat the people down with. I said, hey, but I got to teach the gospel. I don't care who uses it or misuses it. Go ahead and read.
10. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine.
Now you have to believe that. Give the Lord his, and he'll bless you. But people don't believe it. People don't believe it, sisters and brothers. Well, this is all I got. I ain't got but $1. That's all I got. The Lord said, okay, I'm glad. I gave you $1. Now give me a dime of it. That's all he asked for. That ain't much, is it?
Not at all.
That's not much. But people have called and said, well, Brother Bowie, nowadays, if we can't do like Israel of old, pay tithes and corn and wine and all that stuff, we can't serve the Lord. In other words, we can't give him money now. Money's too precious. You understand? You can't cook money. Let's see what happened when the king took over. Let's go in 2 Chronicles, the 31st chapter. Because you have tithes all kind of ways, sisters and brothers. And we want to look at this thing. Because I don't have no problem teaching about tithes. Because like I said earlier, don't nobody get played in the Israel of God but the office staff and the custodians. And people that takes care of the work like it is when the Lord, like he set it up. You pay the carpenters, you pay the bricklayers, you pay the electricians, you pay the people that maintain everything. That's what it's for. Verse 2, 2 Chronicles, chapter 31. And we're going to start reading at verse 2. 2 Chronicles, chapter 31. And we're going to start reading at verse 2. Okay, go ahead.
And Hezekiah appointed the courses of the priests and the Levites after their courses. Every man according to his service. The priests and the Levites for burnt offerings and for peace offerings to minister and to give thanks and to praise in the gates of the tents of the Lord. He appointed also the king's portion of his substance for the burnt offerings, to wit, for the morning and evening burnt offerings, and for the burnt offerings for the Sabbaths, and for the new moons, and for the set feast, as it is written in the law of the Lord.
Go ahead.
Moreover, he commanded the people that dwelt in Jerusalem to give the portion of the priest and the Levites, that they might be encouraged in the law of the Lord.
Now, he told the people, look, I want you to give the people, the priests and the Levites, that they might be encouraged in the law of the Lord. Encouraged. Because the Levites, sister and brother, the Lord didn't give them no property. They gave them nothing. Their job was to serve the Lord. And if you didn't take care of them, they couldn't serve the Lord. They had to go out and make a living. What verse are we?
We're at verse 5.
Go ahead and read.
And as soon as the commandment came abroad, the children of Israel brought in abundance the first fruits of corn, wine and oil, and honey.
Ain't that something? As soon as he gave the commandment, the people wanted to deal with it, but ain't nobody asked for it. So the children brought in abundance. Now we're doing with corn and wine and honey now. Go ahead and read.
And of all the increase of the field, and the tithe of all things brought they in abundantly.
Now they brought everything they had. Of all things, they brought it in abundantly. Go ahead and read.
And concerning the children of Israel and Judah that dwelt in the cities of Judah, they also brought in the tithe of oxen and sheep, and the tithe of holy things which were consecrated unto the Lord their God, and laid them by heaps.
Now they brought, all this. See, we weren't dealing with money at this time. They bring in all kind of sheep, oxen, but this is a people that's a nation that's intact. This is the people that have farms, they have wineries, they have honey farms, all this kind of stuff. So whatever your profession or whatever you had, you tithe from among that.
That's right.
Whatever you had. Skip down to verse 9. Verse 9 and go ahead.
Then Hezekiah questioned with the priests and the Levites concerning the heaps. And Azariah the chief priest of the house of Zadok answered him and said, since the people began to bring the offerings into the house of the Lord, we have had enough to eat and have left plenty. For the Lord has blessed his people, and that which is left is his great store. So
now, and since the people have been taking care of their business and paying their tithes or whatever profession they have, a product they put up, so we have plenty to eat, and they've taken care of the Lord's business. You know, hungry people can't work. Hungry priests can't preach. And a good example, what happens to the Lord's work when the people have not paid the tithes. Let's go into Nehemiah, the 13th chapter. Nehemiah chapter 13. See, when you don't take care of your end, the people can't take care of their end. We have all these classes, but if we don't have the money, we cannot buy airline tickets. We cannot pay gas for the vans. We can't even pay the vans. We can't pay the insurance. We can't do nothing. So what we do, we sit down, cross our hands, say, well, you know, the Lord will take care of it. and don't nothing happen. That is a big cop-out. Nehemiah the 13th chapter, and we're going to read verse 1, Nehemiah chapter 13. Because, sisters and brothers, the Lord put this here because he knew that this people need to be told, you got to take care of my business. Verse 1, go ahead and read it.
On that day they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people. And therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite should not come into the congregation of God forever.
Now look. Now they had found the book of Moses. You know, I'm going to tell you something. Israel have lost the book so many times. And when they come back, they search and somebody almost said, here's the book of the law. And so when they read this time in the book of Moses, they said the Ammonite and the Moabites should not come in the congregation of the God forever. Why was that? Because when Israel came out of Egypt, they asked Moab, Ammon, can we pass against by your land? We won't drink your water. We won't eat your food or nothing. We just want to pass by on the king's house. No, you can't come on. If you do, we're going to come out and jump you.
Right.
Asked Ammon, can we come out? Moab, brother, can we? No. In fact, Moab prayed and brought in Balaam to curse Israel. And the Lord said, hey, I don't want you, one of these are Lot's children. This is Abraham's brother's son's children.
That's right.
But what happened? Let's show you that an Ammonite was there. Skip down to verse 4. Verse 4. Go ahead.
And before this, Eliashib, the priest, having the oversight of the chamber of the house of our God, was allied unto Tobiah.
Now this Tobiah, this is the priest now. This is the high priest. He was allied with Tobias. This guy Tobias, you can read on your own. In the 2nd chapter of Nehemiah, he felt bad when he saw that Nehemiah, anybody come there inquiring of Israel because Israel was in bad shape. It was Ammonite. He hated Israel. But go ahead and read.
And he had prepared for him a great chamber, where aforetime they laid the meat offerings, the frankincense and the vessels, and the tithes of the corn, the new wine and the oil, which was commanded to be given to the Levites and the singers and the porters and the offerings of the priests.
Now, what he did, he had prepared a place. In other words, the priest doesn't get no money. He rented this out to this guy, and where all the tithes go, this guy had his personal stuff in there. And instead of you going in there getting the stuff that was offered to the tithe, you go in there and find this guy's couch and his living room set.
That's what it was.
So Nehemiah didn't like that. When he came, he started taking over. Skip down to verse 8. Verse 8 and go ahead.
And it grieved me sore. Therefore I cast forth all the household stuff of Tobiah out of the chamber.
He says, so I cast this personal household stuff out of the chamber. Go ahead and read.
Then I commanded, and they cleansed the chamber. And thither brought I again the vessels of the house of God with the meat offering and the frankincense.
And he had to go and bring the offering. It was so little they had to sit outside. This guy Tobiah was in there. Hey, the priest needed money. Right. He had to eat. So he was rendered to one of the worst enemies of Israel. Go ahead and read.
10. And I perceived that the portions of the Levites had not been given them. For the Levites and the singers that did the work were fled every one to his field.
He says, so I perceived that the Levites hadn't been given their portion. You know why? Because everybody's in their field trying to make a living. They couldn't take care of the Lord's business. See, Levites was not like us. The Lord blessed me. While the Lord was raising up this church by my hand and the help from other brothers, I had a full-time career, a full-time job. It gave me latitude to work on my career and also take care of the Lord's business. They didn't have that luxury. Their full-time job was to take care of the Lord's business.
Right.
He wouldn't even give them an inheritance.
Right.
Because I don't want you to focus on but one thing.
That's it.
My business. But these guys, being that the people didn't take care of the business, they was hungry, and they had to have somewhere to live, and they had to have something to wear, so they went back to their fields. That is the consequences of not paying your tithe. The priest can't take care of the Lord's business. Go ahead and read.
Then contended I with the rulers and said, Why is the house of God forsaken? And I gathered them together and set them in their place.
Go ahead.
Then brought all Judah the tithe of the corn and the new wine and the oil into the treasuries.
See, so now he had to set all this in order because the people had totally forsaken the house of the Lord, sisters and brothers. Why? It's because had nobody taken care of the Lord's business. They didn't pay the tithes. I am blessed. I didn't have to live off the tithes. But if you're going to deal with that, the Lord have made it possible that if one that's really dealing with the truth, he can live out of the tithes if he's really dealing with it. I don't condemn the ministers from being paid. All I say is, what are you giving for the payment?
That's right. Right.
Because the book back paying. Let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 9th chapter. 1 Corinthians chapter 9. People say, well, you see, Brother Boo don't believe in praying preaching. I ain't never said that. If it is necessary, I just say, I choose not to deal with it. And the brothers that the Lord has caused me to appoint as ministers in his word, I choose that they don't get paid either. So if he want to get paid, then he can walk on, I don't want the job. It's all that simple. I don't feel like wasting money on buying houses and cars for people. Not the Lord's money, especially with the world the way it is. 1 Corinthians 9 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
Am I not an apostle?
Uh-huh.
Am I not free?
Go ahead.
Have I not seen Jesus Christ our Lord?
Uh-huh.
Are not ye my work in the Lord?
He's telling these people, you know, am I not apostle? I'm like the rest of them. Am I not free? Look, you're the work. You guys are the work in the Lord, and my work in the Lord. Go ahead and read. Let's skip down to verse 4 and go ahead.
Have we not power to eat and to drink?
He let them know. Have we not power to eat and to drink? That's out of the ministry. They had the power to do it. Paul and them really had it because they took care of the Lord's business. Skip down to verse 7. Verse 7, go ahead.
Who goeth to warfare any time at his own charges?
Uh-huh.
Who planted a vineyard and eateth not of the fruit thereof?
Uh-huh.
Or who feedeth the flock and eateth not of the milk of the flock?
Look, he letting them know who do that. Who gonna go to war and he gonna finance it? And he warned for the whole nation. Who gonna plant a vineyard and don't eat none of the fruit of it?
That's right, nobody.
It's all that simple. Who gonna do anything and not partake of it? Go ahead and read.
Say are these things as a man?
Uh-huh.
Or saith not the law the same also?
He said, look, I'm not saying this myself. The law said this. Go ahead and read.
For it is written in the law of Moses, thou shalt not muzzle the mouth of the ox that treaded out the corn.
He said the law of Moses letting you know that you don't muzzle the ox that's treading the corn. He out there laboring. If he decide he want to get him a mouthful and eat a little of the corn, let him eat it.
That's right.
Because he is pulling the labor, sisters and brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and read.
Does God take care for oxen? Or saith he altogether for our sakes? For our sakes, no doubt. This is written, that he that ploweth should plow in hope.
Go ahead.
And that he that thresheth in hope should be partaker of his hope.
Now, see, the whole thing, sisters and brothers, see, I plow, but my hope is for salvation and becoming God. I ain't interested in money. I'm interested in getting into the kingdom. Skip down to verse 13 and go ahead.
Do you not know that they which minister about holy things live of the things of the temple? And they which wait at the altar are partakers with the altar.
He's letting them know. The one that's do the labor, they eat the fruit thereof. If you work with the altar, whatever comes across the altar, you get a piece of it too. He said, this is all legitimate. Go ahead and read.
Even so has the Lord ordained that they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel.
The Lord ordained that, sisters and brothers. The Lord ordained that.
Right.
This didn't come from man. Because the Lord knows if you're going to have somebody to go work, they have to be taken care of too. So all ministers can't pull it off. But the whole thing is, if you are going to live out of the gospel, you better be preaching the gospel.
Right.
Because if you're living out of the gospel and you're not preaching the gospel, you are a thief. You are stealing. Like the Lord said by Isaiah 55, why pay your money for that which is not bread? But I tell people they get to come, well, you know, I ain't paying this because they don't know good prayer. If it ain't no good, then go to another church.
That's right.
Don't let them stop you from keeping the law. The law said you got to pay your tithes. What he do with it is between him and God. The Lord would deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you be guilty for not you, because the tithes are for you. Look what Paul says. Let's go into Philippians, the 4th chapter. Philippians chapter 4. See, the problem, sisters and brothers, people have gotten this thing twisted. You do what you're supposed to do. And when you do what you're supposed to do, the Lord knows it. Like he showed the prophet, showed the town, everybody was sinning, but you had 2-3 people that was mourning because of the sin. He sent somebody in there with a pen and marked the one that was mourning.
Right.
They couldn't do nothing about it, but he saw that their heart was grieved because of wrongdoing.
Right.
So when he sent the slayers in with the sword, he said, don't touch them.
Right.
You do what you're supposed to do, and everything's going to fall in place for you.
Right.
4 and verse 10. We're going to start reading at verse 10. Go ahead and read.
But I rejoice in the Lord greatly, that now at the last your care of me has flourished again. Wherein you were also careful, but ye lacked opportunity.
See, now, it's obvious that Paul was a tent maker. He earned a living, but then he had to run it all over the creation. There are times that he couldn't make a living, so the people had to take care of him. And he was telling them, look, I see that they must have slowed down for a minute, but then they started back. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and read.
Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content.
He said, I'm not talking because I'm greedy or I want something. He said, because I have learned that whatever state I find I am, I'll find contentment. If I'm doing good, I'm content. If I'm doing bad, I'm content. This is not for me. Who is it for? Skip down to verse 16. Verse 16 and go ahead.
For even in Thessalonica, ye sent again once and again unto my necessity. Not because I desire gift, but I desire fruit that may abound to your account.
That's what the tithes do, sister and brother. The gift is not to the one that you paying the tithes to. The gift is for you to have something that can be laid to your account. I did my part. This is what this is what this is all about, sister and brother. The Lord knows that we have the capacity to take care of his business. And he's not saying, give me $10 of your 100. He's saying, give me $10 of the 100 that I gave you. And when you take care of your business, it is for your benefit. It's all that simple, sisters and brothers. But sometimes people don't want to take care of the Lord's business, then drama start happening. Things start going bad. Oh, boy, good grief. And the Lord, my job, I did this. Why is this happening to me? I'm going to go show you why it's happening to you. Let's go into Haggai, H-A-G-G-I, the 1st chapter. See, sometimes, sisters and brothers, drama come on you, and you wondering why it happened. You need to sit down and search yourself. You just might find the reason. Because I would be straight and put it right on the table, sisters and brothers. I ain't never been interested. When I'm running to the Lord, word of God, when I was in the world, I was going to get rich overnight. You know, I'm going to be a millionaire before I hit 50. Well, you know, reality trumped that. But when I got into the word, sisters and brothers, the last thing on my mind was getting rich. You understand? Because when I found out that I could become God, I could actually become God, whoa, wait a minute. My sights have been too low. I'm going to have to pick my sights up. All of a sudden, I wasn't interested in getting paid. I wasn't interested in the biggest car. I wasn't really interested in the biggest house. I was interested in becoming God. Haggai 1, and let's start reading at verse 1. Because if your sight's on the wrong thing, maybe the Lord going to visit you. Verse 1, go ahead.
In the 2nd year of Darius the king, in the 6th month, in the 1st day of the month, came the word of the Lord by Haggai the prophet unto Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel,
go ahead,
governor of Judah, and to Joshua the son of Josedek, the high priest, saying,
go ahead.
Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, This people say, the time is not come, the time that the Lord's house should be built.
See now, look, the Lord wants to send them back and rebuild the temple. You understand? But the people run around, well, the time ain't right for that, this ain't the time for it. But look what the Lord said to them. Go ahead and read.
Then came the word of the Lord by Haggai the prophet, saying,
go ahead.
Is it time for you, O ye, to dwell in your sealed houses?
He says it's time for you to dwell in your nice, fine houses. Go ahead.
And this house lie waste?
And my house lie waste? Go ahead.
Now therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts.
Go ahead.
Consider your ways. Ye have sown much and bring in little.
He said, I want you to consider your ways. All of them making excuses saying it's not time to build the Lord's house because you don't want to contribute nothing. You don't want to pay your tithes. You don't want to do nothing. You're going to build your nice house, lay back on your nice furniture, and eat the lambs out of the flock. He said, I want you to consider your ways. You've sown much and bring in little. Go ahead.
Ye eat, but ye have not enough.
You eat, but you're still hungry. Go ahead.
Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink.
Go ahead.
Ye clothe ye, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes.
Look like no matter what your efforts are, you are digressing. How can I work every day? I make this kind of money. I'm doing this here. I'm doing that. But still, I'm getting worse. What's happening to me? Because maybe your priorities are in the wrong place. Maybe you didn't realize that when the Lord gave you $100, 10 of them was his.
Right.
10 out of 100. He said, and you are working, and it's just like you making money and putting it in a bag with holes. It's coming in, but you can't make nothing fit. Ain't nothing, no ends are meeting. I'm tired. I know I'm doing the right thing. Why is it that this is happening? You finding out right now. Keep reading.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Go up to the mountain and bring wood and build the house.
Go ahead.
And I will take pleasure in it. And I will be glorified, saith the Lord.
Go ahead.
You look for much, and lo, it came to little. And when you brought it home, I did blow upon it.
Look, go and take care of my business now. And you'll be glorified. He said, you look for much, and it came to little. And when you brought it home, I blew up on it. In other words, it's still coming to nothing. Go ahead and read.
Why? Saith the Lord of hosts. Because of mine house that is waste.
Go ahead.
And you run every man into his own house.
He said, that's why you're having drama. That's why you can't excel. That's why you can't advance. Because you're taking care of your business, but you ain't dealing with my house. So we ain't building no temple now, but we still in this spiritual house by getting this gospel out to the whole world. And we taking it to the whole world, sisters and brothers. I'm not exaggerating.
Right.
But it takes money. And God have set in the perfect machinery to take care of his business. It's called tithe and offering. Go ahead and read what verse?
10. Therefore the heaven over you is stayed with from dew, and the earth is stayed from her fruit.
Go ahead.
And I called for a drought upon the land.
Now he called for a drought upon your paycheck. Go ahead.
And upon the mountains, and upon the corn, and upon the new wine,
go ahead,
and upon the oil, and upon that which the ground bringeth forth, and upon men, and upon cattle, and upon all the labor of the hands of thy hands.
He said, I brought a drought upon everything that's connected to you. You just can't put it together. You're working hard, but you getting poor and poor. You're running, but you're going backwards and not forward. Something is wrong. The Lord said, I did it. I blew up on it. I done brought a drought upon you and your whole household. Why? Because you will not give that to me which belong to me. And the Lord is looking at that, sister and brother. He looking at it all the time. Let's go into Luke, the 12th chapter. Luke chapter 12. Because people don't pay no attention to stuff like this. Because everybody's about their own thing. Well, you know, brother, boy, I only got $10. Lord don't want but one of them. I only got $1. He don't want but a dime. Well, you see, I don't know about that. Well, the Lord knows about it. I am not bashful, but asking you to give up the Lord's money because I don't use a penny of it. You understand? I come to work here every day. 7 days a week I'm in this place. I go and I eat lunch every day. You know who buy my lunch? Boy. I won't even so much as get me a lunch budget, and I'm here all the time. You know why? Because I want to be God. Skip a chicken sandwich. I can pay for that. It's all that simple. And sometimes when you're doing well and you forget God, if that ever happened to you, I want to read this to you. We're going to start at verse 16. Luke 12 and 16. Go ahead.
And he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits? And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater. And there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods.
Look, he's already rich. He said the grounds of a rich man really gave abundance. You're already rich. Maybe you should think, maybe I should help the poor a little bit.
Right.
Maybe I should increase a little for the Lord. And no, he went selfish. I tell you, I ain't got enough barns big enough to handle this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear down my barns and I'm going to build me some bigger barns. Go ahead. What verse?
19. And I will say to my soul.
And I will say to my soul.
Soul. Thou hast much goods laid up for many years.
Hey, you got it made. You understand? All you got to do is, so you didn't hit it all, but he already was rich. Go ahead and read.
Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry.
Hey, it's all about me, ain't it? Mm-hmm. I got mine, you got yours. I don't need the Lord because I got everything I need. Now, you done all that bumper crop you done had. Build your whole bunch of barns. Store up a whole stuff. And look what the Lord said. Go ahead.
But God said unto him, Thou fool.
That's what you are.
This night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided?
He said, you fool. I'm going to kill you tonight. Now who's going to spend all that stuff that you have put in the barn? I'm killing you tonight. That's why you don't have room to be foolish for a little bit. You can't say, well, I'm going to sin a little day. I'm going to get all my sin. I hear people say, well, you see, I'm going to make sure all my sin and go before I get baptized. You might not live to get baptized.
That's right.
So he said, I'm killing you tonight. So somebody else is going to get all this that you'd have labored for. Finish that.
So is he that layeth up treasures for himself and is not rich toward God.
So is everybody that lays up treasure for himself and not rich spiritually and don't give God his, sisters and brothers. He ain't asking for much. That's why I tell people, that trying to find reason to pollute the Sabbath day. I said, God is a liberal and easygoing God. Believe me. He gave you a whole week and just said, give me one day. That's all I ask for. That's one day. Same thing about this. But we see what tithes is paid in whatever manner you have the capacity. But in our capacity, I don't know nothing about raising no goat. I can't even raise a chicken. I hear all you got to do is put corn on the ground. I don't know how to do that. but I know how to make money. So let's go into 2 Chronicles, the 24th chapter. We have some people that wasn't paying their tithes again. The king had to kick out. The last thing had to kick in. Last time they had to bring in cows and wine and all this other stuff. But apparently something else had taken over. This is for a few of these people. They're trying to say, I even had a person tell me, well, you're supposed to pay tithes with corn and wine and all this, and you're supposed to do it once a year, the feast time. They don't understand if we don't take care of tithes every week, this building ain't going to be here for us to have a feast in come feast time. You know, the smallness of some of these people defies reason, sisters and brothers. Brother reminded me something. He called me on the phone. Brother Joshua in Afghanistan, he called me on the phone, and we was talking. He said, look here, he said, I want to remind you something you did, because he had run off from the word, okay? And then because the brother told him, you walk around here in these white folks' clothes and this and that. And he said, I believe the brother. I looked down at him. Where you get them shoes from, man? I said, in fact, where the concrete come that's on the ground that you standing on with the shoes that somebody made? He showed up the next Sabbath day and didn't leave no more. People don't understand. Reasoning have to always prevail. 24:1. Go ahead and read. 2 Chronicles 24, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. Go ahead.
Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Zebiah of Beersheba.
Now skip down to verse 4 rather, and go ahead.
And it came to pass after this that Joash was reminded to repair the house of the Lord.
So when he grew up, he was reminded to repair the house of the Lord. Because before him, there was a woman named Athaliah. Her son got killed, which was king. She killed everybody close to her, and she took it over. And later on, her son destroyed the temple. So now, it was laying in ruin. Israel's still a nation, got a kingdom going on, but nobody bothered to take care of the Lord's temple or his business. So this guy, he took a mind to do that. Go ahead and repair it. Go ahead and read.
And he gathered together the priests and the Levites and said to them, go out into the cities of Judah and gather of all Israel money to repair the house of your God from year to year.
No, he didn't say money, did he?
From Israel.
You sure he didn't say go out and get cows and oxen and sheep
and gather of all Israel money to repair the house of your God.
This is 2 Chronicles, the 24th chapter, and verse 5. Go ahead and read.
And see that you hasten the matter. Howbeit the Levites hastened it not.
He said, and hurry up and do that. But then the Levites drug their feet. He had to get them again. Go ahead and read.
And the king called for Jehoiada, the chief, and said unto him, why hast thou not required of the Levites to bring in out of Judah and out of Jerusalem the collection, according to the commandment of Moses?
According to the commandments of who?
Moses, the servant of the Lord, and of the congregation of Israel, for the tabernacle of witness. For the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman, had broken up the house of God.
Go ahead.
And also all the dedicated things of the house of the Lord that they did bestow until Baalam.
See, this wicked woman's son hated the Lord. They destroyed the house of the Lord, started serving pagan God. Well, brother, see, we ain't serving no pagan God because we won't pay tithes. Yeah, you are. Because you ain't paying your tithes, and we can't get on national television and the internet and big places like this to challenge the servants of Satan that false doctrine. The Lord left this to us to do, sisters and brothers. And he is the God of the whole creation, so our strength is unlimited if we will dare to tap into it instead of being foolish. So this wicked woman that tore the house, messed the house up, and what they did, they started dealing with paganism. What verse?
We're at verse 8.
Go ahead.
And at the king's commandment, they made a chest and set it without at the gate of the house of the Lord.
Now they got him a nice chest, I guess with slotting in it for money, and put it right at the gate of the house of the Lord. Go ahead and read.
And they made a proclamation through Judah and Jerusalem to bring in to the Lord the collection that Moses, the servant of God, laid upon Israel in the wilderness.
Go ahead.
And all the princes and all the people rejoiced and brought in and cast into the chest until they had made an end.
And they cast into the chest. It's kind of hard to throw a sheep in a little money slot, ain't it? I mean, they were putting money in this chest. Go ahead and read.
Now it came to pass that at what time the chest was brought into the king's office by the hand of the Levites.
Go ahead.
And when they saw that there was much money, the king's scribe and the high priest's officer came and emptied the chest and took it and carried it to its place again.
Go ahead.
Thus they did day by day and gathered money in abundance.
Ain't that something? They did it every day. They was gathering money in abundance. See, the people wanted to give, but you had these evil people. They wasn't caring about the Lord's business. They was taking care of paganism. And when the people got a chance, they brought in so much money until they had to empty the chest every day. Go ahead and read.
And the king and Jehoiada gave it to such as did the work of the service of the house of the Lord, and hired masons and carpenters to repair the house of the Lord.
Wait a minute, they had to do that in that day?
Yes, they did.
You mean masons and carpenters didn't work for a bottle of wine and a lamb's leg? They work for the same thing that the brothers that built this house worked for. Money. Go ahead and read.
And also such as wrought iron and brass to mend the house of the Lord.
Ain't that something? Like we got the wrought iron fence around it. This is a steel building. You think we got this steel building for a bushel of grapes? Money. Go ahead and read.
So the workmen wrought, and the work was perfected by them. And they set the house of God in his state.
Go ahead.
And strengthened it. And when they had finished it, they brought the rest of the money before the king and Jehoiada, where there were made vessels for the house of the Lord, even vessels to minister and to offer withal, and spoons and vessels of gold and silver. And they offered burnt offerings in the house of the Lord continually all the days of Jehoiada.
So now once they got through building the structure, they took the money and they bought chairs. They bought spoons. They bought the pots. They bought all the freezers that we got all that food piled up in. They bought all the warmers that's going to be by everything. They bought all the tables that you're going to sit down and eat at. And it was all bought with tithes. Money, sisters and brothers. Money. And the people was happy. They couldn't put the chest out there quick enough, filling up every day. It was happy. Because when you take care of the Lord's business, if your mind is in the right place, you happy too to take care of his business. And when you happy, that makes the Lord happy. Let's go into 2 Corinthians, the 9th chapter. 2 Corinthians, the 9th chapter. That's why I can come up here 7 days a week. I don't mind being here all day. On my law job that I retired from, I didn't put the time in that I put in here. Why is it? Because I'm taking care of the Lord's business. I got something, finally found something in my life that's worth doing. And that's serving the Lord. I feel like my days are worth something. I feel like I'm making a difference. You know, I come out here and I take care of the Lord's business. Brother, I remember one time, brother, you out here all the time? I said, I'm somewhere all the time. I may as well be here.
That's right.
You understand?
That's right.
Stay at the house too long. I get in my wife's house. She get tired and ask me, ain't you got somewhere to go? Everybody gets tired of you sometime.
I hear you.
2 Corinthians, the 9th chapter. We're going to start at verse 1, 9 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
For as touching the ministering to the saints, it is superfluous for me to write to you.
Superfluous means it's not necessary for me to write to you, okay? That big word. Okay, go ahead.
For I know the forwardness of your mind, for which I boast of you to them of Macedonia, that Achaia was ready a year ago, and your zeal has provoked very many.
He said, it wasn't necessary for me to talk with you about this, because I know that you are very energetic. And you're about this thing, and you have a whole lot of zeal. Skip down to verse 5 and go ahead.
Therefore I thought it necessary to exhort the brethren, that they would go before unto you, and make up beforehand your bounty.
He said, so I told the brother to come on and get this thing done out the way, get this money out of the way. So when I come, we won't be collecting money. Go ahead and read.
Whereof ye had noticed before, that the same might be ready as a matter of bounty, and not as of covetousness. But this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly.
Go ahead.
And he which soweth bountifully shall also reap also bountifully.
Now look, if you skimp on the Lord, he's going to skimp on you. If you be liberal with the Lord, he'll be liberal with you with his blessing. Go ahead and read.
Every man according as his proposeth in his heart. So let him give.
Go ahead.
Not grudgingly or of necessity. For God loveth a cheerful giver.
He said, let him give. Don't go, I got $100. I got to get the Lord $10 of this money. You can keep that money.
That's right.
It ain't going to help you. You understand? He said, Lord, love a cheerful giver, sisters and brothers.
That's right.
And he don't judge you according to what you give. This is a fair God. You know, like some churches, they have what you call the tithing walk. Some of y'all done heard of that. Over here, they got the $20 table. On the other side, the $10 table. Here they got the $100 table. Over here, they got the $500 table. And over here, they got the $1,000 table. So you want to be a big shot, right? You're going to strut to the $1,000 table. The Lord don't want that. All he wants is for you to give what your portion is. And when you give beyond and you still is small, he recognizes that. Let's go into Mark, the 12th chapter. Mark chapter 12. Because, sisters and brothers, this is a fair God. And he notices stuff when ain't nobody else looking at it. Mark 12, and we're going to start reading at verse 41. 12 and verse 41. Mark 12, and we're going to start reading at verse 41. That's what I like about him. He notices everything. That's why I don't have to worry about people when they're doing crazy stuff. And even doing crazy, like people say all kind of stuff. I may got some of the worst stuff on the planet that's been said about me. And I hear they be saying ugly stuff about me on the YouTube and internet. But you don't ever see me saying nothing back. You know why? God got me. And I know who's going to have them. You understand? I wouldn't dignify that foolishness by reciprocating. Like a brother called me last week. Brother, you know, I heard what you said about the flat earth, and I got some scripture. I'm going to tell you that the earth is flat. I said, brother, I will not dignify this conversation. Get off my phone. When you got something to say, call me back. They even found out the earth ain't flat in Columbus Day. You know, you can... Okay. Mark the 12th chapter. Let's start reading at verse 41. 12 and 41. Go ahead.
And Jesus sat over against the treasury. And behold, how the people cast money into the treasury. And many that were rich cast in much.
Now, you got all these people. Some of them rich, they brought big money. Go ahead and read.
And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing.
Well, we're going to say 2 pennies, okay? Go ahead and read.
And he called unto him his disciples and said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that this poor widow has cast in more than all they which has cast into the treasury.
Wait a minute. This kind of girl, he done made the $1,000 table. He done dropped the grand over there. You get this woman over here, all she had was $2. That's all she had. She dropped it in there. Who gave the most? Go ahead and read.
For all they did cast in all their abundance, but she of her want did cast in all that she had, even all her living.
So she didn't have much, but she gave it to the Lord, sisters and brothers. $2 was more than 1,000. You know why? That's all she had. And the guy rich, he probably was supposed to drop 5 on the table. But he dropped 1 and got glorified because he went to the big table. Jesus was watching that. He said, she done gave more than all these people together. He ain't asking for big money. He asking you for a portion. And we're going to get to that before we get out of this lesson. So Jesus watched that. Then he's still watching. And the Lord know how to take care of his servants under the worst conditions. Let's go and give you a good example. Let's go into 1 Kings, the 17th chapter. So I looks at all this stuff, and I believe this stuff. And I'll say it, and don't think I'm boasting. That's why I say I ain't never been broke. You understand? When I come into the Lord, and since I come into the Lord, I haven't charged a penny, but I ain't hungry. You understand? Because I believe this stuff. Brother asked me, brother, you believe that stuff? Yeah, I believe this stuff. That's why I can get up every week and preach it. That's why I can get up every morning at 5:30 and read on it. At 4:30 on the Sabbath and read on it. Because I believe this stuff. And no matter what happens, I know that this God that I serve can take care of me. There ain't no impossible position with this God. This is something here that a lot of people need to read, because there's 2 great messages in here. And it's 1 Kings, the 17th chapter. 2 great messages, sisters and brothers. 1 Kings chapter 17. 1 Kings chapter 17 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
And Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, As the Lord God of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word.
See, Ahab was the husband of Jezebel. People think Jezebel is a streetwalker. No, Jezebel was a priestess. Had nothing to do with prostitution. Not physical anyway, spiritual, yeah.
That's right.
So he was an evil king because he allowed this woman to kill a man and take his inheritance. So he said, go in there and tell him, told Elijah, there ain't going to be no rain or dew on the earth for 3 years. Go ahead and read.
And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Get thee hence and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan.
So now, so we're going to tell the prophet, now once you go and deliver this message, I want you to go down by the brook, by the river Jordan. Go ahead and read.
And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and have commanded the ravens to feed thee there.
Ain't that something? Who would have ever thought? I want you to drink the water out of the brook, and I'm going to command the ravens to feed you. You know, that means that the Lord can speak bird too, can't it?
Right.
People always tell me, well, if you don't call the name in his right name, you can't serve. He know his name in whatever language. So that's what happened. Go ahead and read.
So he went and did according unto the word of the Lord. For he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith,
go ahead,
that is before Jordan. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening. And he drank of the brook.
Now, when you read this here, that lets you know there is no impossible position for a servant of God. He made the birds bring bread and water in the morning for breakfast, and then they brought his dinner that evening.
Ain't that something?
He made the birds do that. Bread and flesh. And you going to tell me that I'm scared to do what this Lord God want me to do? Hey, I'm going to deal with it. I don't believe that I'm going to fail in nothing that he want me to do.
Right. off and putting it on me was the same thing. But yeah. So let him know.